Hey everybody, it's Jason Blah here, and I recorded another workout video with Brittany and I, and what I did this time, rather than rearrange them, I actually just put all of this in the order that we filmed them in, so we alternate between Brittany and I doing sets. I obviously start with my clean and push press, and yes, I know it's basically just a muscle clean, not a power clean, but that's okay. I'm using a relatively lightweight for a clean, and by doing a muscle clean, it actually gives me a little bit of extra work, because obviously cleaning up stuff like 185 pounds for a guy my size isn't that big of a deal. So trying to even use a full power clean would just be kind of silly. So yeah, I just muscle clean it up so that I get some extra muscle activation. I'm doing extra work. In a way, as I described before in a video the other day, cleaning your weights up all the time on as many different exercises as you can is actually just a form of your general physical preparedness. It will bring up weak links in your whole kinetic chain. It'll bring up weak links in your body as far as just general lifting and picking up awkward objects go. That's one of the downsides people get who focus on isolating everything all the time. You're not building up just your general overall strength and performance through a wide variety of applications. Things like having to clean up weights all the time becomes useful, just kind of like things like farmer's carries and all that other stuff are just generally useful. Now the thing I'm going to note it today, I was really tired, and I've started to finally feel it in this workout. Every single set of my overhead press felt heavy. It felt heavy. I'm not going to lie. It felt heavy. Even that little 185. And again, that's the thing that we note. All the research you look at out there when it shows how strength works in different types of strength athletes, I don't care whether it's powerlifters or football players, your pressing is usually the most impacted by caloric deficit, by weight loss, things like that. I'm down another pound in the last week. Okay, I'm down 20 pounds so far, and I'm still able to push, the same weights, but it is becoming more and more difficult. And I'm starting to notice that some of my workouts, the strength just isn't there. And you guys will notice I gave up early on this workout at the end. I failed in the middle of a set on my very last exercise of the day, and I'm like, I'm just done. I'm done. And some people would say, well, why would you do that? You've got to push through. And it's basically, why would you guys think that I'm cutting? Do you guys honestly think I'm going to gain muscle? I'm down 20 pounds. I've already said my next benchmark is another 10. I'm not blasting a bunch of gear. There's no way for me to gain muscle, or very, very little. And here's the thing. When you're cutting and losing weight, fatigue management becomes the only way that you're going to recomposition. Meaning, if you overreach at all when you're in a weight loss phase, you can go ahead and just scrap the idea of gaining any muscle. All right, overreaching, underreaching models don't work when you're losing body fat. They work when you're bulking. People who aren't gaining weight, you're not in an actual weight gaining phase, have no business using dual factor recovery models. It's not going to work. Do you really think you're going to gain that extra ounce of muscle when you're not eating? When you're not eating enough to gain weight? Not going to happen. So you need to stick to purely strict, like single pattern recovery models, and that's what you need to focus on, meaning you need to actually recover workout to workout. You don't ever want to have your weekly tonnage exceed what you can recover from, your maximum recoverable volume. You don't do that. If you do, you're going to be one of those guys who burn out. You're going to be one of those guys who crash on your diet. You're going to lose muscle mass. You're going to get injured. That's what happens. So yeah, I mean, knowing when to quit is something you have to do. And so yeah, I'm just pacing everything and trying to stay within my maximum recoverable fatigue. Now I went back to conventional deadlifting again. I was doing deficits for a couple weeks while doing this. And I feel like because the volume is relatively low on the deadlift, I can go back to the normal conventional a lot of workouts. Not saying I won't rotate through a little bit to deficits, to trap bar, stuff like that. But the point is, I feel like I can do conventional right now, as long as I keep the volume in check and don't try to do multiple sets of it. But you know what? A couple of heavy sets of deadlifts with 5 plates per week is sufficient to maintain my muscle mass while losing weight, and that's the whole point. And if I'm going to improve in any area, I want to improve in my weak points, and that's my overhead pressing. It's things like my triceps and my shoulders. So that's where I'm putting a little more focus. But the main thing is just deadlifting enough to maintain my size and strength. And again, people need to understand, people who aren't blasting gear, growing while you're cutting when you're a fairly advanced lifter already, is going to be exceptionally difficult to do. And if you get it wrong, you're going to lose muscle. So that's the whole point. So I'm just kind of pacing it, you know. There's nothing fancy, nothing exciting about these workouts. These are maintenance workouts, and people need to understand that. When you start getting older, you become an advanced lifter, you have to understand the best you can usually hope for is to keep what you have while you're cutting body fat, okay? And if you can do that, that's actually a vastly successful cut. And eventually, I will probably see a point where I see a small strength reduction while cutting. But the beauty of it is, due to muscle memory, motor patterns, and everything, as long as I don't lose too much, I will pretty quickly regain the lost strength when I return to basically caloric maintenance. But because of what I need to do right now, I don't know how long I'm going to be in this caloric deficit. And again, I'll break down later what I'm doing to create it. It's not what some people would think. I'm actually eating an enormous amount of calories, and I'm following my own advice. And some people say, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, if you guys watched my videos, you would already know what I'm doing without me telling you. I'm actually practicing what I preach. I am using the methods that I describe as being the best, and it's not based on my opinion. It's based upon some of the top experts in the world as far as body composition and diets go. Again, it shouldn't be that difficult to figure out. So up next, I do my Pendlay rows, and these went okay. I said I'm doing a fair amount of chin-ups at home too, though, so some people are like, well, you're going kind of light on those. It's like, yeah, I'm just trying to maintain my explosiveness. These are purely an accessory exercise for me. Purely an accessory exercise, and I treat them as such because, again, I do more than one sort of pulling. I do deadlifts, I clean everything up. They're an accessory. I do chin-ups as really kind of my primary upper back exercise these days, upper and middle back, and bicep exercise, so a lot of chin-ups. And so here's Brittany bench pressing again, and she's slowly regaining strength. You guys notice we've upped her deadlift 20 pounds after all her detraining, and she's finally adjusting to all her new work schedule, getting used to being on her feet more per week than she had been doing previously. She's getting back into getting her strength back, and it won't take long. I would say within a month, we'll have her strength right back where it was on her bench press, her deadlift, everything else. So it's coming along nicely. So our plan's working there. And so, yeah, Pendlays, just doing 225 for sets of 5. And you notice even there I'm starting to get a little fatigued. The form is breaking down a little on the last set, but that's okay, as long as I'm grinding it out. And of course, we've got Brittany here doing lat pull downs. And we'll put her back to Pendlay rows. It's just that when she detrained a bit, she lost some of the, actually I would even describe it as muscle tone in her upper back. She seems like it atrophied just slightly over the course of that month. So we're doing just a little bit more volume on her rowing and things to bring that back up. And we're noticing it's obviously helping with her deadlift tremendously. And we'll get her deadlift back up to 185 for reps fairly quickly. I'm predicting within the month. And so another 30 pounds to go, and then she'll be good to go. When she's back to doing reps with 185 on the deadlift, we can switch this lat pull downs back over to her Pendlay rows again. And other than that, she's mostly just bench pressing and other stuff. I do want to work on her being able to squat eventually. It comes down to mobility issues she has in her hips, though, and that's been a real struggle for us. Again, just some issues she has with her actual hip joints that we've had to try to rehab over the last couple years. Has really made squatting difficult for her, but I feel like once I get her comfortable enough with the lifting, her deadlift's back where she wants it, we'll get her squatting. Again, she just got really long legs. She has some hip issues, and historically squatting has been problematic. You guys remember seeing her box squat with dumbbells and stuff. Gonna just take time to get her where I want her on that. So in the meantime, we're working on her overhead pressing, close grip bench pressing, lat pull downs, deadlift. And she deadlifts at a really high frequency. We're only recording some of these. She does multiple sets of deadlifts, basically at least 3 days a week right now. Occasionally we get in 4, like this last week we got in 4. And she does 3 sets each time, so that ends up being 12 sets of deadlifts, which is a pretty good amount of volume. So some people are like, she's not getting enough lower body work. Well, 12 sets of conventional deadlifts starts to add up. So that's where she's at. And this is, I believe, her last set of lat pull down. So for those curious, yeah, Brittany's doing, she did 3 sets of deadlift, 3 sets of bench press, 3 sets of lat pull downs, and then we're going to do some dumbbell hang clean and overhead press. So again, we're just cleaning them up while standing, which again, I always tell people is where I agree with Jeff Cavaliere. If you want to be more athletic, you need to do more exercises standing. And as you guys notice, you don't see me doing a whole lot of exercises where I don't stand. Chin-ups, you know, I'm not even doing chest presses right now. My chest is massive, even just overhead pressing. In fact, I would think I pretty much quit doing real chest work this year. And we're already halfway through the year, over halfway through the year, and I only overhead press for my chest, and my pecs and my rib cage are enormous. And it's partially because of my rib cage. It makes a big difference there. All right, guys, here's where my fatigue kicked in. I couldn't even lock that left one. I don't know if you guys saw that. Notice I'm not even locking it. I'm so tired at that point, and my overhead pressing is just struggling. And I couldn't lock them, so I was done. I'm like, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to go do some other stuff. And that's when we got the massage and the pedicure and everything yesterday. But Brittany, on the other hand, she just cranks out 10 reps, which I had her do because we were in a hurry at this point, and she wanted to get out, and I failed a set. So I told her, just rep it out as many as you can with good form. I think she ended up doing about 10 reps here. So enjoy that, and I hope this has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.